The price of Bitcoin is not the only piece of information you should use to form an opinion about Bitcoin. A currency and the ecosystem of services that use it are not the same thing. But Bitcoin supporters are obsessed only with price. When the price goes up, they claim victory. When the price goes down, they encourage each other not to lose faith. Faith. That is the right word because they know the underlying asset they are promoting and selling is just confidence. Confidence. There was a time in my life I searched for a reason people seem to make endlessly irrational decisions. In all my research, I found there was one thread of insight common to many sources, and that thread of insight was that one of the reasons people make so many irrational decisions is their desire to be consistent. When people decide to believe something, the barrier to believing something else is much higher than if they had never formed any opinion at all. Biases are real, and people struggle with processing new information. Consistency is considered a virtue. It means you got it right. It means you assembled all the necessary information, understood it, and formed your perfect opinions based on those perfect inputs. The irony is that everyone will acknowledge and accept the wisdom of being driven by data when applying that test to someone else, but very few have the self-awareness to recognize deficiencies in themselves. If there was one thing we know that has always held true for people, it's that we never really change. The idea that we will find systems and rules of dealing with each other that will change our basic and fundamental desires, drives, and behaviors has been a failed fantasy of despots and ideologues for centuries. If there is one thing we know has always held true for technology, it's that it continues a relentless march towards advancement. The idea that we will one day solve technology, that we will create the final, true, perfect anything, isn't consistent with the entirety of human history. Technology doesn't always progress without interruption, but consistency is not part of the equation. Preferences and personalities don't change that much. Technology never stays the same. There may once have been a good argument for Bitcoin, but there is a difference between a proof of concept idea that may have value and an ecosystem that rises around that proof of concept, skimming profits off that value. Even if you believe that Bitcoin is good, that doesn't mean everything people do with Bitcoin or in the name of Bitcoin is defensible. Many struggle to understand the difference between these two things. They are obsessed with being right, and to them, since number go up equals right, the higher the price, the more right they are, and nothing else matters. They have assembled all the necessary information, understood it, and formed their perfect opinions accordingly, based on their perfect and final inputs. Learning is obsolete. Why should I learn new things if the things I know are enough to be so right? New things don't happen. New information doesn't exist or matter. Technology is perfect, pure, and complete forever. If someone says there is tremendous and poorly understood risk in crypto lending that backs unsustainable yields, if someone says there is collusion and market manipulation and you have no way of knowing if the current price reflects real demand, if someone says Bitcoin is an expensive, slow, and primitive way to solve the problem of transferring value, if someone says the ethos of don't trust, verify is continually brushed aside in a vain attempt to justify returns, if someone says it causes too much waste and pollution, the desire to kill banks is in conflict with the desire to recruit investment bankers and institutional investors, the network is negative sum, which breeds and excuses antisocial scammy tactics. The system enables tax evasion, money laundering, ransoms, on and on and on. They say you're not going to make it. Have fun staying poor. Federal Reserve, hyperinflation, and other nonsense they don't understand. Just words, no thoughts. Technology is never complete. It's a process of trial and error. The desire to move on from attempt number 1 to attempt number 2 doesn't invalidate attempt number 1. It just means we can do better. Regardless of what you thought about Bitcoin when you first heard about it, there can always be new information, and you must find a way to incorporate that new information into your opinions, or you are sacrificing rationality for consistency, and you're going to get burned. Assuming you have good intentions, and aren't just trying to be a confidence man.